everyone. This is Frank from Musto Wine Grape. Today's session is going to be on cleaning our bottles. A lot of people like to use a bottle that's either commercial or used. I make a lot of wine, so I've kind of worked my way up to the big label and then back down to a smaller label. So I have small labels here, but what I'm going to show you today can be used for any wine label that you have. Now, I've heard people soak their bottles in a tub, and I've also heard people that put them in the dishwasher. I don't see good results in that, and I won't get into the details, but I'm going to show you a way that works for me, and I'd like you to give it a try. So I've got just a case here. I normally do about 100 bottles at a time, but for today we're going to do a case. So I've got my bottle. You want to buy a razor, go to a hardware store, get a razor, and I also tend to buy a large amount of blades because I change them out whenever it gets dull. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to scrape this label off quickly. And whether it's a large label or a small label, it doesn't matter. Now I've got that label off, but there's still some glue residue on there, which I'm going to show you how to clean. So let me scrape a few more of these off. Watch your hands. I tend to do this in a box so that all the droppings fall into it. And when you start to feel the blade getting a little dull, it's time to change that blade out. I do this with any type of a label that I have, whether it's a clear bottle, a green bottle. One thing you never want to do is use a screw cap bottle over again. Very, very dangerous. The reason for that is a screw cap bottle, obviously there's a thread on it. This has a larger head on it, so if you have a screw cap, it's thinner. And if you go to put a cork in there, you could pop that bottle open and hurt yourself badly. So please don't reuse a screw cap. You're welcome to use any other bottle that your friends like to give you. All right, so I'm gonna finish scraping all these labels off, and we're gonna move on to the Goo Gone next. All right, so I've finished scraping the labels off of these bottles. I'll put my blade away, and the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use the famous Goo Gone to get some of that glue off of the bottle. So I usually take a little bit of the Goo Gone, spray it on a rag, and just find that spot where you had the label and just use some Goo Gone to get it off. It comes off very, very quickly. And I usually have a different procedure because I do so many bottles, but due to the room constraint, we're going to do everything here one case at a time. So I'm going to get all this Goo Gone and wipe off the label. Doesn't take long at all. Obviously, if you have a commercial bottle with a big label on it, you're going to be doing a lot more work than I am. So you want to think, when you get to a point where you're making a lot of wine, you should be buying brand new bottles. Put your label on it and don't be afraid to reuse those bottles. And once I'm done with this Goo Gone, we're going to set up and I'm going to show you how to clean the inside of the bottle. So right now, once we're done with this removing of the label, we're going to end up moving to the inside of the bottle to clean and sanitize that. All right, so the outside of the bottle is officially cleaned, and now we're going to clean the inside, which is probably the most important part, right? That's where our wine's going. So we have a video where we talk about cleaning and sanitizing, but at home I tend to use Be Bright. That's one of the products I recommend. And the rule of thumb with Be Bright is 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. So I buy the larger size from Musto. I also have a pail labeled Be Bright and a pail labeled sulfite, just so I know which is which. And I actually do that in boot camp too. I try to teach people to keep it straight. So we're going to fill this up with a gallon of water, which is more than what I need for this. And just a reminder, when we do use Be Bright, it's only good for one use. We throw it out after that. Our sulfite we're going to be able to use again. So check out that video on cleaning and sanitizing. It really puts you in the right direction. All right, so I've got my Be Bright mixed and stirred up. And what this is going to do is going to clean the inside of the bottle. And please, if you get a bottle from someone, a neighbor, and it's got mold on the inside or a lot of junk in there, don't use it. It isn't worth the $1 for the bottle to ruin your bottle of wine. So, with my bottles in the case, I'm going to take my Be Bright, I'm going to pour it in one bottle, and I'm going to pour that into the rest. So I kind of use this bottle to refill all my other ones. And remember, I don't do a case at a time. I do about 100 at a time. I wait until my rack is full. So now I'm going to take this master bottle and just pour a little bit into each one. It doesn't take much. And usually, if I fill one 750 bottle, I get to do an entire case with that amount of Be Bright. So remember, Be Bright is a cleaning solution. It is not a sanitizing solution. We're just going to clean. I'm going to show you how to sanitize your bottles too. Okay, so this was my master bottle. And now what I'm going to do while I'm setting everything else up is I go into every bottle, I give it a little bit of a shake. And this is probably the most exercise you'll get on this assignment, but you're shaking it up just to get the entire bottle clean, the neck and so forth. So I'm going to give these a quick shake, and then I'm going to show you how to set up the equipment. So let's get this done quickly. Remember, no screw caps, and don't try to use a bottle that's got some bad bacteria inside of it. All right, so I just shook up all these bottles. So now they're ready to be flushed. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start putting my equipment together. So there's a great tool to have called an avinator or a sulfatizer, and you should take it apart every time you use it, and I'll tell you why. You've got sulfite in this. Sulfite will tend to corrode the spring. So you've got your base, you've got your spring, and you've got the squirt cap with the base. So these three parts need to be put together. So we're going to put the spring inside, hold it up, screw it together, and we're going to push it down inside the three little tabs. This guy's ready to go. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put some sulfite, and we talked about sulfite in our cleaning and sanitizing video. This is what's going to go up inside and sanitize. So what are we doing here? We've cleaned the outside of the bottles. Now we've put Be Bright on the inside. We're going to rinse the Be Bright out, and then we're going to put some sulfite in it. We're going to hang them on a tree. So I'm going to get this ready in here. And by the way, the other thing we do need, which I think is great, is called the double bottle blaster. I hooked this up to my sink right here. This is going to go up to my sink. We put our little nozzles on it, and I'm going to set everything up, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how we clean these bottles. All right, so I've got everything set up. I've got the water running into my double bottle blaster. So usually I take 2 bottles at a time. I drain out the Be Bright that was in there, and I push them down on top of the bottle blaster. And what that's doing is it's shooting water up inside the bottle. So I've got hot and cold water coming up there. I prefer to run the hot water. And you notice how it just flushes the bottles out. So what it's doing is it's rinsing out the Be Bright and any possible dirt inside that bottle. Then when I'm done, I let them drain. I push down, I get some sulfite. I push 2 or 3 times. Let the sulfite drain. Put them on the bottle tree. This bottle tree, there's different sizes that hold different amounts of bottles. It drains into the bottom. Be aware that when you're done rinsing any bottles or glass with sulfite, if you picked it up in a week, it's going to look cloudy and dirty on the inside. That's just sulfite stain that will come right out when you wash it next time or put wine in it. Plus, you're going to notice that the bottom of your tree will have a lot of white residue. That's all sulfite that dropped out. So I'll take 2 more, drain them, rinse them out with the water. Drain, a couple shots of sulfite, and these 2 are done also. I'm just putting them anywhere on the tree. So I have a procedure, a little set up a little differently when I'm doing 100 bottles, but it's the same process of what I'm doing here. And for those of you that fill the bottle and shake them, notice I'm not doing that here. It's very easy on your back, and it's a very effective way to do it. And the last thing we would never want to do, please remember, don't ever use bleach. Don't try to wash your bottles with bleach. You wash them with winemaking products. We've used Be Bright today and potassium metabisulfite to sanitize, and our bottles are ready to go. Now, the next time I use these bottles, and by the way, when we're done with these, and when these dry off the tree, I'm going to put them back in a case upside down. I'm going to store them like that until I'm ready to use them again. Then the day I'm ready to bottle, I will set my sulfite up again. I'll take the bottles out. I give them 1 shot or 2 shots, and I fill them with wine. So I give them 1 last shot of sulfite, wet and ready to go. Make sure it's just drained out. Fill them with wine, and you've got that extra protection of a layer of sulfite in that bottle, which helps that wine against bacteria. And we got 2 more to go. These will sit on the tree for as long as I want until they're totally dry. Then I'll take those bottles and I'll put them in cases and put them away till my next bottling. So yes, I do reuse my bottles, and you're welcome to do that too. Now when I'm done with this, I'm just going to show you how to take everything apart and put it away. Okay, so the bottles are clean. They're on the tree. They can dry as long as I want them to. Don't put them away too soon. Make sure they're dry first. But I've got to clean up over here. So I'm going to take the double bottle blaster off of my line. And these are a couple nozzles we take off. Tip this to drain it. And normally I hang it outside, but I'll hang it here for now. I just let it drain. This is just a little platform I used to hold up the bottle blaster, and that's something we're going to talk about. That's going to help us when we dry our carboys. But this is the guy we want to clean now. This has sulfite in it. And remember, sulfite is good for plastic, but not for metal. So we want to get that spring out of there. So I'm going to take this apart. I'm going to give it a rinse. Make sure you rinse that spring off well. Put everything over here to dry. The rest of this is all plastic. Put this to dry, and I'll put that away tomorrow when it dries. So that's it. We've washed our bottles. They're clean, ready, and we can use them the next time we're ready to bottle some wine.